So I was like, come on, man, you only put it in one time. Hello, young whippersnappers. Is this a ping pong ball? Sir, this is the meat and eggs aisle. Ah, yes, a ping pong ball. Sir, you are facing the wrong way.
Y los nuestros no han sabido cómo detenerlo. Peña metió 3 pelotas cruzadas, las cuales han sido incontrolables.
Jesus Christ, Clements. Yo guys, it is your boy Niran here, and you are watching FTW. This is of course the series where I bring to the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. What's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, Tommy Fury and Jake Paul have announced their fight for a 17th time this week. They've organised more dates at this point than Tommy and his missus. Speaking of which, and Molly May has had a child after a longer than usual pregnancy.
She's 20 months pregnant.
Jake Paul commented on this announcement, saying that it was just in time for their baby to see Tommy Fury get knocked out. Wasn't quite as big time when he was facing off against Tyson Fury in the flesh.
Oh, I'm sorry, don't hurt me, sorry.
Meanwhile, it all got a little bit heated at the face-off. Josh Denzel was trying his hardest to calm everybody down. Yeah, so we're experiencing some technical difficulty. If everyone could just stop punching. On to the football though now, and there's been a major event this week, deadline day.
That tastes like
a dildo.
Clubs up and down the country and across the world made their final moves and last gasp attempts at deals this week, unless you're Liverpool.
It's not a joke. Sign some players!
The big spenders, though, were in West London, as Chelsea spent their millions again, signing Benfica's Enzo Fernandez. The Argentine World Cup winner is costing them €121 million at a British record fee. That means a total of €681 million have been spent this season by Chelsea alone. In other words, 235 mitomas, more than the GDP of Tonga, and more than all of the other major leagues in football and the Championship combined.
Was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not.
Here we have FFP watching on as Chelsea register a 14.8 quadrillion tax return.
I'm not getting involved. I'm here to enjoy myself, GC style, do you know what I mean?
Todd Bowley's negotiations are ridiculous at this point. I can do 20, 10, alright, 15, 30. That's more than 45. You f*** it. 107. The Chelsea bench is looking outrageous at this stage. They're going to need the whole West Stand for the rest of the squad. Team meetings there are going to be absolutely crazy for Graham Potter. And here we have Todd Bowley realising he can't play all 29 new signings at the same time in a 4-4-3 system. Let's be honest though, these lot don't know how to stop spending. So I don't think it's going to affect their transfer deals for the rest of the year. Enzo himself's got a lot to prove to the team after kissing the Benfica badge just a couple of weeks ago. He's going to direct his initiation song to Chelsea's best centre-back, even if the crowd of Chelsea players is a daunting size. Here we have the club's American owner giving Enzo advice after his arrival.
The goal's not on the sideline, on the touchline. The goal's in the middle, on the end line. And so when we win balls, we don't want to run to the corner. We want to run to the middle of the pitch where the goal is. And that's how you score goals.
But he is in. All the paperwork was signed after a massive rush on deadline day. And I can only imagine on a 26-year deal. This is going to have an effect on the rest of the players' game time at Chelsea. Ruben Loftus-Cheek's in for a rude awakening when he asked Graham Potter for more game time.
Actually, I'm glad we've got this opportunity to chat, as there's a couple of things I want to...
Shut up.
Sure.
One man on his way out of the club is Jorginho, who left the Blues for league leaders Arsenal. This transfer window is honestly a fever dream. To be fair, this guy's been playing for Arsenal for a little while now.
the greatest moment I've seen.
And he's already sending shots at Chelsea's league position, for God's sake. Todd Bowley saw Arsenal make a bid and was ready to hijack the deal till he realised Jorginho was already a Chelsea player. But for Arsenal fans and after the David Luiz debacle, this is going to spark some PTSD.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Here we have Arsenal supporters seeing him play a 357th sideways pass of the match.
He's done it again! That is a foul!
And imagine, they get a 90th minute penalty to win Arsenal the league, only for this guy to Macarena his way up to the ball and miss. We need someone to convert, not play Dance Dance Revolution. You know what's jokes? He's got to lie to Gabriel Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus about his nationality. This guy is no bonito. I've never seen a referee outpace a player. Mike Dean is not bursting down the right wing, so you are slow. Mark Cucurella found out about the move mid-interview.
The smartest player in the squad is Jorginho.
I don't think he plays for Chelsea anymore.
No? Arsenal, no?
Arsenal, I believe. It's like photos of him
No.
And if Mark isn't careful, he'll be finding out he's been sold mid-interview too. Jorginho, to be honest, hasn't been in great form recently, so Chelsea fans are happy to wave him out of the club. And honestly, I've seen a lot of reaction to this. It's not a great signing, but it's not bad. The guy's a serial winner and has serious experience. One man Arsenal did miss out on, though, is Brighton's Moises Caicedo. They couldn't match the Seagulls' evaluation for the Ecuadorian. Alright, I say we add this as a goal, but wait, who's that?
I don't want peace. I want problems.
And this is a kind of shock as well, to be honest, as Moises even released a goodbye statement thanking Brighton for giving him a chance to help his relatives. This guy has a family to feed, and now his brothers and sisters are going to be fuming at the club after missing out on an 80k a week contract.
You're an absolute disgrace. You're a cheat. I hope Brighton get relegated.
Instead, he's now got to return to the Amex. His teammates are not very forgiving.
Well, what your legacy is going to be is that you are a Judas.
But even if he does leave, let's be honest, Brighton are going to spend 300 grand on a Sri Lankan midfielder and turn him into a wonder kid somehow. Now, we'll take a break from transfers for a second. Oh, for crying out loud. And we'll head over to the FA Cup, where Brighton faced off against Liverpool. Just skip the dramatic pause and run it back, boys. And what an unforeseen reoccurrence. Liverpool were knocked out of the FA Cup by Brighton, receiving yet more damage from the Seagulls in a 2-1 loss. It might have been deadline day, but the only transfer I want is me away from this club. A 92nd minute goal from young Japanese star Karo Mitoma sealed Liverpool's fate here. Nuts control, by the way, for the goal. A volley fake shot.
Watching him is better than having sex, mate.
Todd Bowley's gonna be whacking out the cash for Karo come the summer. It started alright for Liverpool, you know, with Harvey Elliott putting us ahead again. He was even getting on the Brighton's boss's nerves during this one. Darwin Núñez and co were loving it. It's a Housery award, or it would have been if De Zerbi hadn't had the last laugh. It's a Housery award for the Brighton boss. Trent Alexander-Arnold was subbed off here and he was not too pleased. Here we have him explaining the situation at full time.
They said, on the ball, you're the best at the whole club, including the first team, but they said off the ball, you're one of the worst at the club.
Fabinho put in a horror challenge on youngster Evan Ferguson and was somehow not sent off even after being seen by VAR. People were saying this is biased in our favour, but having Fabinho on is worse for us. Send him off and it's advantage Liverpool, mate. The guy is a physical egg, for God's sake. A ping pong ball. Oh my God, Clements. Liverpool fans were just confused at the fact that we were 80 minutes in and we weren't actually losing the game.
What is going on here?
But it wouldn't last, as with Joe Gomez getting freaky in the area. Hey, yo, bro, are you seeing this? Brighton would take a last gasp victory. Again, this is a positive. I no longer have to endure Liverpool in this competition. I honestly blame Jake Paul for our entire downfall. Imagine Jude Bellingham getting asked by Jurgen Klopp if he wants to start with Jordan Henderson or Fabinho.
It's like having a choice of two blokes and nick your wife.
Elsewhere, and we had a top 2 clash in the FA Cup as Arsenal were also eliminated in a 1-0 loss to Man City. Look, lads, don't worry. This is just Mikel Arteta learning even more from Pep here in order to have maximum knowledge to win the Premier League. Pep didn't get the warmest of welcomes trying to interact with Mikel at full time. Rob Holding versus Erling Haaland was the first time in history we've ever had an aerial and on-ground mismatch. So Arsenal's tactics, just control, alt, delete the guy.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Haaland's CPU circuit was on the ropes. Kyle Walker wasn't happy with an Arsenal scarf getting thrown at him, but he was happy to bully former teammate Zinchenko at full time. I can't lie, I love this. Very wholesome content. Now, back to transfers and the like. I lack a game time for Joao Cancelo, and he's heading over to Bayern on loan with a £60 million buy option. This guy had to run out of the league to escape the superior wing-back, Rico Lewis. I'm convinced Pep just makes life harder for himself on purpose. He pays extra bills in a living crisis. Has Joao even recovered from the World Cup and losing to Morocco? Gonna be awkward when he links up with Mazraoui at Bayern.
I'd love to shake your hand.
You'd love to, you do. We can all pull a bat.
Meanwhile, Bayern's owners are thinking they're business geniuses, spending 60 mil on a player when Bochum in the same league have £4.79 in the bank account. It's been a turbulent time for a team in turmoil, as Everton made 0 deadline day moves and lost Anthony Gordon to Newcastle. Not great timing on the club calendar, I can't lie. Anthony was picked up by a young Newcastle fan whose mum had offered to give him a lift.
He asked my mum and dad, how do you get a taxi round here? My mum, being my mum, she speaks to anyone, off
offered him a lift, and he accepted it. So anyways, I got the car about 7:10, and I see like 2 people in the back of the car. He was in the car, you know, and I got in, and Anthony Gordon's sitting there.
It's not the first time Anthony Gordon's taken a backseat at a club, to be fair, but he is at least impressed by Alan Saint-Maximin.
My darling, you with a headband, you are different gravy.
Elsewhere in Everton's new boss has been confirmed as former Burnley manager Sean Dyche. He's already creasing at Everton players' lack of fitness. Here we have him chatting to his assistant after 27 minutes of coaching the squad.
These are crap.
He's going to have a heart attack when he first walks into the changing rooms. Everton did try and sign Chelsea midfielder Conor Gallagher, but had the deal turned down with Gallagher not interested in the move. Yeah, I can't lie, it's a wrap for these lot. And here's Conor's speech to the rest of the squad if he did make the move in the changing rooms.
My team's going to have testicle fortitude. Balls! Balls! That's what my team's going to have. You don't have no balls!
United were facing an injury crisis this week with Christian Eriksen out for 3 months. United fans were concerned seeing that McFred was on the way back.
Bottle jobs. I'm sorry, and I'm sick of this.
And Erik ten Hag can only do so much without Christian in the team. But instead, they went out and grabbed Marcel Sabitzer on loan. A solid player, not gonna lie, but not sure he'll be impressed when he sees Scott McTominay put his shin pads on.
You can never make it.
Chelsea boss Graham Potter apparently took his squad to an army base this week to help with team bonding. Kai Havertz's results at the shooting exercise were not too great. The entire team at one base. It's gonna look like an invasion, bro. Here we have one of the army officers being told that Kepa had gone from dropping balls to dropping a gun. Meanwhile, there was a rousing speech from one of the corporals there.
That's a load of bollocks! You've got to fucking die to get 3 points!
I mean, okay, not literally. Meanwhile, Mykhailo Mudryk's gonna be having PTSD at an army base. Their new signing, Mykhailo, has been in trouble already actually this week after a video of him rapping the N-word surfaced on social media. Look, he just wanted to fit in with the rest of the Chelsea fans. Here we have Mudryk in front of the TV when the FA ban him and his teammates are taking the knee. Outgoing at Chelsea, though, was meant to be Hakim Ziyech, but Chelsea managed to send the wrong paperwork to PSG ahead of his loan move 3 separate times. They sent all the competent staff to Lisbon for the Enzo Fernandez deal and left the club window cleaners in charge of this one. Hakim's gonna have to convince his missus that they're actually in Paris and not just viewing Wandsworth from their hotel window.
Could be Rome, could be the Venetian in Las Vegas, but we're here.
Meanwhile, Chelsea club reps had to get a bit hands-on, stopping him getting on the Eurostar to force his move. Back in the FA Cup though now, and Leeds faced off against Accrington Stanley, and one fan clearly wanted to add even more spice to the game. Manchester United breezed past Reading with help from Casemiro and an Andy Carroll red card. I'm convinced he was sent off for wearing the number 2 as a striker, and Salford City fans were chanting at Dom Telford of Crawley Town, telling him that he was a shit Andy Carroll.
Shit Andy Carroll! You're just a shit Andy Carroll!
It's a shithousery award for Dom. It was big FA Cup drama at Wrexham, where the non-league side earned themselves a draw and a replay against Sheffield United. Club owner Ryan Reynolds was in attendance and was nervous to the death. The crowd were getting across an important political message here. Meanwhile, for Sheffield United, and there was a confusing celebration. Do you want us to talk or not, fella? Over at Tottenham, and Richarlison took a banner over to their under-21s team to give some support to Lucas Moura. In France, though, now, and there's the sensational story of Will Still, a half-English, half-Belgian coach who used to be a youth manager at Preston and is now the head coach over at Reims. He apparently got into the game via Football Manager and is now 12 unbeaten in League 1 after a 1-1 draw with PSG. The club were even fined 22 grand per match because he doesn't have his pro license yet. He's fluent in both French and English and tells it how it is to his squad.
Reste lucide là-dedans. Fucking stay focused in here. Alors c'est 3 points ici, super, chouette, comme Eunice dit, voilà, bravo. Fucking 3 points on Sunday as well.
I'm obsessed, I can't lie. Imagine, wee, bon, you're wank me. He's not too impressed with his main striker's French ability.
But your French is absolutely shocking. Absolutely terrible.
But will still be unbeaten come next week. The team they drew with in the last minute is Paris Saint-Germain. Sergio Ramos decided to blend in with the scenery. It's not the first time his head's gone during a match, to be fair. Kylian Mbappe was very impressed by a Neymar free kick pre-game. That look down was a little bit suspicious. Speaking of Mbappe, and he was involved in a slightly unfortunate pack opening this week, where he managed to nab himself Emi Martinez. In midweek, and Paris Saint-Germain stars were seen on a building site. I mean, it's ironic, they can't even build a lead in Ligue 1, for God's sake. Troyes announced the signing of midfielder Jeff-René Adelaide this week, and it's fair to say they've fallen in love with the ex-Arsenal man already. Laurent Blanc and Ajaccio's boss are not going to have each other on their Christmas card list this year after a scrap at full time. Meanwhile, over at Tours, and there was sensational scenes there, as during a game against Saran and their goalkeeper Jules Goda was sent off in the 56th minute, he gave away a penalty in the process and one of their outfielders had to go in goal. The wild thing is, he managed to save the resultant penalty and keep a clean sheet. Now in Italy, and Monza beat Juventus 2-0 this week. Not only is that a blow for a side that have already received a 15-point deduction, but it's massive for Monza, as their club owner Silvio Berlusconi promised their team they would provide them with a bus full of hookers if they were to beat any of the big teams this season. Well, their players think it's about time he provided on his promise.
I will love it. And I think I deserve.
And to be honest, judging by this, it seems like Juventus players were trying to help them get things underway. Over at Roma, and there's the revelation that Jose Mourinho has his own name on his phone case.
I think I'm a special one.
Meanwhile, he made his players pose for a photo in the dressing room after a loss this week for Instagram. Yeah, Jose, I don't think this is the time, boss man. Napoli fans are so impressed and so pleased by their team's performances this season, they accidentally caused a roadblock for their current president. Over in Spain, Atletico fans are getting bitter over Vinicius Jr. again, all because he can two-step at their football ground. Even the club can't bear to type his name out when he scored against them this week. Over at Barcelona, and Gavi has officially been handed the number 6 shirt. They've genuinely just respawned their manager. To be fair, it saves money on old shirt names as well. Gerard Piqué has revealed his new girlfriend to the world. Looking good, I've got to say. Over at Athletic Club, and Iñaki Williams had an incredible run of 251 consecutive La Liga matches without missing a single one. He, however, did miss his first match for 7 years this week. Meanwhile, a youth game between Malaga and Barcelona. Now that it's time for your goals of the week, and we've got some more screamers this time. First of all, over at FC Isle of Man, I think it's the first time we've ever ended up on this island, but take a bow. Steve Whitley, who scored from 66 yards for them. Similar vibes over in Panama, where on the spin, seeing the goalkeeper's miles off his line, you might as well take advantage. And finally, over in Wales, how about this for not only an incredible assist with a back heel at Haverfordwest, but an absolutely ridiculous volley to top things off. At Feyenoord though, against FC Twente, and with the Feyenoord goalkeeper sliding the ball out of play, he went above and beyond to make sure that his opponent didn't take a quick throw-in and score from it. It's a shithousery award for my man. Now over in Germany, and at Borussia Mönchengladbach, French midfielder Manu Kone managed to nutmeg a pitch invader. I'd be even more impressed if he can do it whilst the fans still in the crowd. How's he manage that then? Union Berlin was supposed to be signing Isco this week, but RB Leipzig jumped in and tried to hijack the deal. In the end, the Spaniard didn't sign. Leipzig replied to the Berlin-based side asking about him, to which Union Berlin asked about their tradition, or lack of. Meanwhile, down at Stuttgart, and Kostas Mavropanos managed to score one of the best own goals of this week. In the Czech Republic, and Sparta Prague attached a POV camera to their striker Lucas Harashlin with sensational results. Meanwhile in Brazil, and it's not safe for anybody, even microphones down on the touchline. Hello all, and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back, by popular demand, for yet more glorious beauty.
Ele se chutou! Ele fez falta nele mesmo!
And that concludes The Beautiful Game. In Northern Ireland and at Glentoran, how about this for a hand of God goal from Shea McCarthy? In Poland, and they don't play normal football over there, they've decided to combine it with a different sport, ping pong. Meanwhile, back in Brazil, and São Caetano managed to score a late equaliser this week, and it's an absolute screamer, though I can't lie, it might have been helped a little bit by their opponent's goalkeeper just being sat on the floor at the time the strike was taken. A Man City youth women's team lost 19-0 to Peterborough this week. Think they might need an injection of oil money too. We all love a passionate celebration from your squad. Turns out one thing I like even more is when a cameraman provides a passionate celebration too. And after scoring a penalty this week, PK Humble brought out one of the more unique celebrations that we've seen, and even managed to grab some sweets from the crowd.
The balance is up now.
But now, boys and girls, it's time for the FNG Transfer Roundup. Ladies and gentlemen, it is deadline day, and like Fabrizio Romano, I have been travelling round all over the world attempting to find the latest scoop, and my sources tell me I should stop stalking them. in La Liga, and as the surprising news that Atletico Madrid have brought in Matt Doherty from Tottenham. He's struggling to acclimatise to the rest of the players.
Fuck off, you Spanish cunt.
At Wolves, and after chasing Joao Gomez for the entire window, a campaign to free the player took over the entire city. Well, for their transfer announcement, and they decided to play into this. Now, all they need to do is find Raúl Jiménez again. And finally, at Tottenham, they made an offer to Borussia Dortmund for Jude Bellingham for £5 million and Ryan Sessegnon going the other way. Borussia Dortmund's response to the bid was as follows. No. Now, there's been crazy scenes in the Dutch league this week as Utrecht and AZ Alkmaar played out a ridiculous 5-5 thriller. In Argentina, and the wind as well as a bounce has caused absolute chaos for a goalkeeper there. In Chile and at Universidad Católica, a player managed to get injured during a celebration by getting a football boot to the face. In Malaysia, and I can't even lie, ball boys by the side of the pitch might even have a better first touch than the players on it. The league system in Iraq is providing one of many goalkeeping howlers this week. Ronaldinho is loving life after retirement, it's fair to say. The Brazilians traded dribbling past defenders for dribbling at half-naked women. In Israel, and you guessed it, we've got yet another goalkeeping mistake. I'm sorry to the goalkeepers union, but you can't be throwing the ball in your own net without repercussions. Meanwhile, in Sweden, I don't think Malmo have quite grasped the concept of bringing one substitute off and only putting one substitute back on. Now that it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, because over in Romania, at Cluj versus Rapid Bucharest now. And it's been a little while since we've seen an official do anything in this segment. Well, I think this one might have to send himself off after a violent, clinical elbow on a Cluj player. In Morocco and over at Olympique Safi, we've got some beautiful play that they're defending pretty well against until one of their own defenders chests the ball into his own net. In the Cameroonian second division now, and look, what was the advice that I gave? Make sure your body is behind the ball. At Fenerbahce, you never quite know when the goalkeeper's gonna let go of the ball. This wasn't that instance, however. In El Salvador, and we've got two players on opposition teams who have either been sent off or substituted off at the same time after dishing out some lip, and it's ended up in a scrap down the tunnel. Over in Indonesia, and once again, these lot are causing carnage. We've got one player down on the floor, but that isn't distracting him from blowing some kisses to his girlfriend in the crowd. Meanwhile, there's the ridiculous story of Persis, whose boss was attacked by ultras from the team they were playing against this week. The players themselves decided to go and clash those ultras in a post office just moments later. In the US, and their crowd atmosphere is about to blow Europe out of the water.
I feel physically sick, to be honest, and I mean that.
Meanwhile, over at Hajduk Split, and they announced the signing of Yassine Benrahu over on TikTok Live. Now that it's time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now, this is a segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football. Now, Sunday League is all about keeping things nice and simple. That's why when it's time to get a clearance sorted, you'd rather just head it away instead of try the acrobatics and send your teammate to hospital. On to the weird stuff though now. Over at Waterford, and they decided they were going to have a friendly with Fleetwood Town this week, although not in the usual surroundings. They headed over to Dubai to play this game. Interesting location for Fleetwood versus Waterford, but we don't need to talk about that. Well, against all the odds, and in Dubai, this game had to be postponed because of a waterlogged pitch. In Malta, and the president of Hamrun Spartans, who were top of the Maltese Premier League by a pretty decent margin, has apparently resigned so that he can register himself as a player. Joseph Portelli, who owns the club, has decided that he's fed up of watching from the stands and wants to get involved in the action whilst his side are 11 points clear. And finally, there's the ridiculous story of Kosrae Island just off the coast of Papua New Guinea. It's an island in Micronesia, and they've decided they're going to set up their first ever futsal and football teams this week. However, there's a little bit of a catch, because despite the fact they're going to be competing in a regional event this summer, they don't have a single football or futsal ball on the entire island. If they're lucky, Harry Kane's penalty might land somewhere in the area. That, though, is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.